Hello, this is my informative speech for public speaking. If I could have my audience come forward. All right, here we go. Culture, as defined in the most current sociological texts, is the way of life of a particular group of people, including the characteristics that make it distinct from other groups. In the world today, there are many different cultures that are intermingled all over the globe. Each one seeks to preserve its own identity while co-inhabiting the planet with others. Our culture, or American culture, is but one of many to develop out of an overarching Western culture. This Western culture developed out of a conglomeration of Western practices, beliefs, and ways of thinking that have influenced this world. One of the foundational cultures upon which Western culture was built is the Jewish culture. A culture based in religious teaching, the Jewish culture has adapted over time, but has also always held firm to its traditional beliefs. We tend to not have that as American culture. Our traditions, our history is that of a shared commonality. Americans are a melting pot of people, but aren't we also a melting pot of traditions? Traditions adopted and converted from several cultures over time. In the Jewish culture, tradition is their identity. I want to look at different aspects of Jewish culture today and show exactly how their traditions shape who we are as a culture, who they are as a culture. From their values to their focus on families, the Jewish people define their culture through their traditions. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few traditional Jewish culture values. Jewish values, like I said before, are based in religious tradition. You see, there are many subcultures that are housed within the Jewish culture itself. But when talking about Jewish culture as a whole, there are two main subcultures to talk about. The Jewish subculture that is traditionally held under a religious teaching, or the Jewish culture that is historically centered. This meaning that they are not necessarily religious, but identify through their Jewish heritage. Regardless of which cultural subsection we discuss, its origins are formed and solidified through the teachings and historicity of the Jewish Bible. Because of this common textual ancestry, the Jewish people, the values of both the subcultures, are based in the same set of traditions. In this set of traditional values, we see how the Jewish culture focuses on the value of human dignity. This is a core concept that is based on the foundation that man was created in the image of God, or Elohim. And because of this, we maintain the spark of the divine within each other. Because of the traditional understanding of the divine inheritance, the Jewish concept of the mensch was formed. As quoted by the Rabbi David Chush, the mensch is a person of great integrity, courage, sensitivity, honesty, and caring. This stands the Jewish culture's ideal of what a proper human should be. Someone who exemplifies the Spirit of God within us and has the wherewithal to see that dignity with others. American culture shares a similar understanding of that value of human life. As a whole, American culture tends to place great importance on human dignity. The ideal that all men are created equal may be removed from the concept of God, but it quite plainly implies that there should be a common decency that is extended to one another, because at our core, we are not so different. The Jewish culture not only holds traditional values on the people, but also places a major emphasis on family itself. When it comes to the family, Jewish culture continues to rely heavily on tradition. Based on the teachings of the Jewish Bible, the Jewish family stands at the center of the community. It has been a sacred connection between man and wife, as well as between children and their parents. This ingrained traditional understanding of family structure is held both by the major subcultures as well, the religious-centered and the historical-centered subcultures. This traditional focus on family roles also has a direct impact on the communication between families, who may even be separated. The Jewish culture places such an emphasis on the traditional parent-child relations that even in separation, both parents continue to maintain their roles with the child. In American culture, that is not always the case. We as Americans value our independence over most things. More often than not, a separated couple does not maintain that traditional parent role with the child. This certainly is something that I wish we as Americans would place more focus on as a culture. The traditional roles of parent and child should be maintained regardless of the situation that the family finds itself in. You now have a little better understanding of Jewish culture's focus on how we live in the world today. It is a culture that is highly focused on who we are and how we should work together with one another, in both a familial sense and a community sense as well. Perhaps we should take the time to see how we could adopt this traditional mindset as well. After all, we are all sharing this planet together. We should stand together as mensch and have the fortitude to see the Spirit of God in each and every single one of us.